Hey, what's up? My name's Nigel, and in today's video, we're gonna be doing two things. First, I wanna talk about the Viltrox EF-M2 II and how it acts on a micro four thirds camera like my Panasonic GH3 in combination with the ever so popular Sigma 18-35. I've watched so many different videos about this combo, and I feel like not a lot of people did just a sit down talking to camera type of test with this combo. So I wanted to show you what that looks like and give you some other sharpness tests in comparison to my native micro four thirds mount lenses. And that brings me to the second thing that I want to talk about, and that is native mount lenses as opposed to adapted lenses and which method I prefer for filmmaking. So first, let's start with this Viltrox EF-M2 II focal reducer. Now, just a full disclaimer, I wasn't sent this focal reducer. I bought it with my own money, and these are gonna be my own opinions about it. One thing you should know is I'm a pretty loyal Metabones user. I've been using Metabones ever since they first came out, and they're typically my trusted focal reducer, speed booster, whenever I'm doing anything serious. If I'm getting paid to do something, I'm gonna be using a Metabones and not something cheaper. That being said, I have used the Roxen focal reducer, and I was really happy with that. That has a really good price to performance ratio. And I actually did use that on one paid gig because I didn't have a Metabones at the time. But yeah, just keep that in mind. I've never had a Viltrox before, so this is my first experience with the speed booster. And again, I am trying it out with the Sigma 18-35, and that's what you're seeing me on right now, shooting on my Panasonic GH3. And so this is what it looks like. Shooting at f1.2, I think the 18 millimeters with the focal reducer, I think it comes out to about 25 millimeters on my micro four thirds camera. So it's a little bit wider than my DJI 15 millimeter, which would give me a 30 millimeter equivalent field of view. So this is what it looks like. And I think it looks pretty good. You get a little bit more bokeh or background separation with this combo than you would with my DJI 15 millimeter. And it is going to be letting in a bit more light too, so I actually had to turn my main key light a little bit down. This is what I really wanted to see with a lot of the other reviews, is just how it looks like in practice when you're shooting a YouTube video. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Metabones speed booster to compare it to as far as sharpness. Gerald Undone did a really good video about the sharpness in comparison to a Metabones. He did say that the Mark II version of this Viltrox was about 5% less sharp than the Metabones, which I think is a pretty good value considering I got this focal reducer for $138 on eBay. And if you're trying to find even a used version of the Canon speed booster on eBay, I looked around and they're still being sold for around $400 to $550 used, which that's still a lot of money. That's almost as much as you would pay for the Sigma 18-35 by itself. For 138 bucks, I think you're getting a pretty good value considering that it's still decently sharp and, like Gerald said, only about 5% less sharp than the Metabones. Something that was incredibly funny with the Viltrox focal reducer that I bought on eBay was the eBay seller included this cute little digital toy camera, 3 megapixel digital camera. I'll probably give it to my nephew or something like that. But yeah, this Viltrox EF-M2, as far as build quality, it feels kind of like a Metabones. This focal reducer does give you an aperture readout of 1.2, whereas the Metabones, I think, gives you an aperture readout of 1.3. So in reality, it's not really that big of a difference. And I have seen that this is a little bit wider as far as the focal reduction that it's giving you. So that's kind of cool. The one thing that I kind of wanted to see was how this looks in comparison to my DJI 15 millimeter, and if this looked good enough to where I just could never go back to shooting on my DJI. So I'm going to show you what my DJI looks like in comparison to this, and I'll go to that clip right now. So yeah, this is what the 15 millimeter f1.7 looks like. The exact same spot. This is what you are typically used to when you watch my videos. I typically shoot with the 15 millimeter f1.7. As you can see, we still are getting some separation. There still is a little bit of bokeh back there, but definitely not as much as you would have with this setup right here, the Sigma 18-35 and the Viltrox. So you can definitely see that there's a bit more of a creamier background, and it is obviously giving you a shallower depth of field because we're shooting at f1.2 as opposed to a f1.7 on the 15 millimeter. So for me, I'm shooting on a Panasonic GH3, which is a 1080p camera, and I personally think that this looks pretty good. And I would definitely feel very comfortable using this on a professional paid shoot. I don't think that the slight difference in sharpness is really worth upgrading to the Metabones, especially if you're on a budget. And if you had a camera like the G9 or the GH5 or the Blackmagic Pocket, those are going to give you enough resolution that that slight decrease in sharpness really isn't going to be that noticeable anyways, especially if you're using it with a really sharp lens like the Sigma 18-35. So I've actually owned a Sigma 18-35 speed booster combo in the past, and one thing that's always been kind of hard is I always bought the Nikon version of the Sigma 18-35 and the Nikon version Metabone speed booster. The reason being is that the Nikon versions of both of those are always going to be cheaper than the Canon version because they don't have any electronic connections, and you can control the aperture of Nikon lenses mechanically, whereas with the Canon stuff, it all has to be through a electronic connection. And so what's cool about having a Canon Sigma 18-35 and the Viltrox, which adapts the Canons to micro four thirds, is that I can use things like my little shutter remote and use this to set my focus and start and stop recording just like I would with my DJI 15mm. So that makes it a lot easier to just sit down, grab my focus with this, and shoot my YouTube videos. So that brings me to the question that I've been asking myself ever since I started adapting lenses to micro four thirds cameras, and that is it worth it to have the weight and the bulk and the price point of these adapted lenses, or would it be a lot better to just stick with these native micro four thirds lenses? Now personally, if I'm going hiking or something like that, or I'm going on a trip or I'm traveling, I typically want to bring something nice and small and compact, and I've been using this setup for such a long time that I feel very confident that I could shoot an entire documentary on just this little rig right here if I really had to. And obviously I don't have the shallower depth of field, the more light gain, and the variable focal lengths that I would with this Sigma Viltrox combo. But look at how small this is. This is nothing. I could throw this in a bag and really not even notice that it's there. Whereas with the setup that I'm shooting this on, the Sigma is a really big lens, plus you have the speed booster, and then you have the mic and the camera itself, and then you need a tripod that's going to be able to hold it up and not fall under the weight. And so just adding all of those things really starts to increase the size of your entire kit. Whereas with this, I can just bring a little GorillaPod or a small little travel tripod and I'd be totally fine, because this weighs basically nothing. So I kind of want to know, what do you prefer? Do you prefer native mount lenses, or do you like adapting lenses to your camera? And definitely let me know in the comment section below. I'm still kind of trying to figure out whether or not I should just keep on shooting native micro four thirds, or if I should just go all out and get more Canon lenses and adapt them to my GH3 with this little Viltrox EF-M2. As far as this little focal reducer, I think that it's great. What's funny is I know that some people have had problems with infinity focus with this little Viltrox, and right out of the box when I got it, infinity focus worked perfectly fine. And even my Sigma, it's actually parfocal, and I didn't have to change anything with the Viltrox. So that's pretty cool. So straight out of the box, my Sigma 18-35 was parfocal, and I didn't have any infinity focus issues, which is pretty cool. So I know that hasn't been the case for everyone who's got this adapter, but I definitely got lucky. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that little video. I just wanted to bring a quick video out about this Viltrox EF-M2 because I just wanted to kind of make a video that I had been wanting to see with this Sigma Viltrox combo. So anyways, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, it'd be really cool if you hit the like button, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me. Anyways, I'll have videos and playlists right here that you can check out. Once again, thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you all next time. Later.